Hey, grace and peace, everybody. We up in the building. I appreciate y'all stopping by on today. I told y'all last night that I was going to pick a fight, and I was going to probably watch Candispiracy's latest episode because I figured it was going to be bona fide stir-fried foolishness. And I was looking, I said, most of her shows are like an hour. I said, I could do an hour real quick. So anyway, Candispiracy's on. She just went live. Let's get at it, people. Let's go. All right, what's she talking about?
See what you think. Welcome back to Candace.
So not really interested in all that, but I just figured it'd be interesting. So shout out to West Virginia in the building. All right, let's see what happens. All right, she's got to talk some stuff. Let's go.
Tyler Robinson didn't kill himself. I mean, these are the phrases that we now use and that we say when we expect that the federal government is telling us a lie. Last week, I have to tell you, I was contacted by a source who I vetted with information that answered a lot of the lingering questions that we've had about the investigation. Not all of them, but some of them, some of the big ones. First and foremost, we were like, how exactly did it work? How did Tyler Robinson turn himself in, as we were told, but also never confessed? And did he actually author those absurd Fed messages? Because I'm thinking no. Lastly, what was he doing at Dairy Queen? Doesn't really quite fit into our timeline. Also, don't expect this kid who just tried out being a stone cold killer to really have an appetite. And why exactly did the feds withhold that information at Dairy Queen? And why are they allegedly stalking the Dairy Queen to see who comes in and out? We have the story that could potentially answer all of those questions. And it certainly makes a lot more sense than the slop that the government is currently trying to feed us. First and foremost, Tyler Robinson has never confessed. They acknowledge that he has never confessed to this crime, and he still is pleading innocence on the shooting.
One in the chat, if you believe that she's going to drop anybody's name that's a source. One in the chat, if you think she's going to drop any name that's a source. Anything else, if you don't think she's going to do it.
In fact, I was told that he was, quote unquote, bewildered by the idea that he carved casings. I should be clear, he does not dispute the fact that it is his gun at all. It is his gun. But Tyler is not exactly a gun enthusiast. He doesn't hunt like his other brothers do. In fact, he's apparently a fisherman. The reason that he has that gun in the first place is because it is, in fact, a custom-made family heirloom. Tyler is the firstborn son, so he inherited. That's what firstborns do. They get the family heirloom. That is why he has the gun. As many of you guys have noted, the Robinson family appear to be conservative, hence the hunting and the fishing as the sports of their choosing. I am told that they are fans of Charlie Kirk and they are fans of Donald Trump, although this source noted that Tyler, like many other conservatives have expressed, wished that Trump would sometimes tone down his speech and his rhetoric. Now, on the topic of rhetoric, I am told that Tyler absolutely did not author those text messages. What text messages? He has no idea where these messages.
Notice she's jumping around every topic. She started with the Dairy Queen, then his background, to the casings, to his political leanings, and now she's going to talk about the text messages. None of this stuff has she actually solidified and said, here is the evidence why these casings aren't his. These are the evidence why. She's not going to do any of that.
Came from, believes that they are therefore entirely fictionalized. It turns out, you're going to be shocked, that he doesn't actually use words like vehicle, which should come as no surprise to anyone that has a brain. By the way, I'm sure you caught this, but there's old footage of Tyler Robinson that is now circulating from a car accident that he had. And during the discussion with the officer that showed up, Tyler certainly refers to it as his car, not his vehicle, because that's how most Americans, how most English speakers refer to a car, unless they're in the military or on the police force. So here is 2022 police body
That
cam
is so
footage,
comical.
in case you missed that, of Tyler making a crash report. Take a listen.
Your mom's on her way?
She did.
Yeah, she's gonna be.
She just called it a crash report. How many people call it a crash report? Candace, you are ridiculous.
She's got to shuttle over from where she's at to her car and then drive over. Gotcha.
She also said shuttle.
His mother was going to shuttle over from her car. Interesting. There's more, of course. Of most interest to me, what I've learned is that his father does not believe, his parents don't believe that their son committed this crime. I was like, huh? Excuse me?
Who is this
far
source?
cry from what the media has been telling us. Remember, the media presented this amazing story. The father realized his son was guilty, so it goes, right? And then he phoned over a friend to help him convince his son to turn himself in, because this guy, you know, this mysterious guy was a friend and just had a connection with Tyler. And eventually they said, you got to do the right thing here. We know this is you. That was the vibe. Certainly that's what the media was putting down for us to pick up. Well, I was told actually that it was kind of the opposite. That quote unquote family friend, who we learned was a former detective with the police force, at least, and so therefore has strong ties with the police station, informed the family. It was that in-between person that informed the family that Tyler had been identified as the shooter. He recognized him. He knows Tyler. He gives them the heads up. And then I'm told, and I believe this, that the way in which he got arrested, or rather turned himself in, was because that family friend slash neighbor slash former detective told him, hey, it's best for you to turn yourself in because
Shout out to West Virginia Wire. I appreciate the very kind. I'm sorry, West Virginia Wire. Thank you so much for the very kind $5 super. She said, can you give me a quick recap? I lost track 60 seconds ago. We started in the Dairy Queen and now we're where? I have no idea. She is. That's why I'm asking the question. Do you think she'll ever list her sources? Because she's listed 4 people so far, and there's been no names except Tyler's and her own, of course. And I don't think that she is going to ever mention a name of a person that is responsible, that's given her this information, because she just has a source. So I don't think we're going to ever get one, but she keeps hopping around. And this is something else I've noticed about Candace, and I'm going to do a review of it. She likes to give out so much information that you do start to lose footing and you start to become discombobulated. Like, what in the world are we talking about? What's happening here? She'll say something true, something that you confirm, but then there's all these other weird things. And so you just kind of grasp onto the thing that you know, or that affirms what you believe, and then you just kind of roll with the rest. So she'll throw out 9, 10 different things. One of those things will be something like, you know what, I agree. And you're just kind of holding on, and that's how she gets her affirmation. That's just my assumption and how I see this. Let's go.
There's only one of 2 options here. Either you turn yourself in and everything is peaceable, or you know, the SWAT team could come in here and arrest you and things would get crazy. So that's what happened. He went over to their house. Tyler was called over. Tyler was bewildered. He disputed the idea that he had murdered Charlie Kirk. In fact, according to my source,
Who is
Tyler
it?
has never even stepped foot on UVU campus. Tyler, it turns out, which has already been revealed, was accepted into Utah State University, not Utah Valley. And that's actually interesting if you pause and reflect on that, because we didn't really consider how on earth Tyler became not just familiar with the layout of the campus, but familiar with the rooftop layout of UVU campus. So familiar that he knew exactly how to scale across the rooftops to duck down in order to take an almost impossible shot at a Charlie Kirk who was sitting beneath a tent. How did he know how to do all of that? Had he been there before? That he knew where Charlie was going to be sitting in it, that he would have that shot from on top of the Losey Center? What? Right? I would actually, and I don't know, but I would imagine that even actual current UVU students don't know that possibility. Like, they're not even that familiar with how to scale the rooftops and what shots they can take from it. We'll see. Curiously, however, my source says that Tyler Robinson was nearby the campus on that day. I'm wondering if that fact, which I'm trying to learn more information regarding, explains the Dairy Queen photo. Because what was he doing around the campus on that day? Where exactly was he around the campus on that day? This photo never made any sense. When I plugged it into my timeline, it wasn't fitting in. So if you're wondering why exactly Tyler would agree to go to the police station if he's not guilty, ironically, the police were honest that day on one of the points. Well, first and foremost, that point is Tyler is not suicidal. He wanted to go to the police station so that he didn't risk accidentally getting shot by the police storming his home, as I said earlier, in a theatrical arrest setting. But rather confusingly, Nate Brooksby, tells us
A
that
name.
Tyler is suicidal. Whatever. Let's just take a listen to what Nate Brooksby said after he had been apprehended. Take a listen.
So I get a call from my friend, and his said, "Hey, how you doing?" Good. And it's not, he's been retired a few years. We'll call each other. It's not unusual for me to get a call from him or vice versa. And at 8:02 p.m., he calls me. Hey, I can tell his voice is kind of shaky. So my first thought is, who died? Like who's he going to tell me that died? And then I couldn't fathom what actually came out of his mouth. So he said, "Hey, I know who Charlie Kirk's shooter is. I know the family through religious association, and he's in Washington County now, and we're working on trying to get him to come in voluntarily." During that phone call, some information was provided about Tyler potentially having some suicidal ideations, was en route to a remote area of Washington County. The parents convinced him not to do that, and conveyed that they would stand by him and help him surrender peacefully.
I'm told that's not true. That Tyler was not suicidal at all. He was just confused and didn't want to get shot. And then he gets to that part, right? He then tells us, Brooksby, that he came in willingly because he didn't want to die. Let's take a listen to that portion.
Within the hour, my friend drove Tyler and his parents to my office, where he was greeted by plainclothes detectives. So that was part of the deal. Is Tyler knew it was just inevitable with all the law enforcement pressure that his picture in the news, the gun on the news. He knew it was inevitable that he would be caught. He was fearful of a SWAT team hit on his house, or he was fearful of being shot by law enforcement. So part of the negotiation and getting him to bring himself in was that we would treat it as delicate and as soft as possible to make him feel comfortable to where he would show up at my office. And that's exactly what happened.
It can't be both. It can't be both. Was he suicidal and wanting to die, or was he worried about dying? It can't be both. And I didn't catch on to that early on. The answer was he came in because he is not suicidal and did not want to get shot and was confused, as I am told.
But you do know that it's common parlance to say if a person doesn't want to delete themselves, it's called suicide by officer. Or, I mean, you do realize that, right? So a shootout where somebody is trying to delete themselves, they don't want to delete themselves, I'm sorry, but they know that they're going to get caught by the police and it's not going to go well. They don't want to go back to jail. It is called suicide by police officer. I mean, it's a parlance, it's a phraseology. And to me, it seems like Candace is really trying to get lost in the sauce and, dare I say, confuse her audience on different terminologies and get hamstrung on a word and say, well, because they said this, nothing else can be true, which I don't think. We're not playing Jenga here. It's not Jenga or House of Cards, which just seems like what she's trying to do. But let's get done.
Now, you're probably wondering why the father and the mother didn't speak out to assert his innocence. That would make sense, right? Why don't you come right out and dispute everything immediately? Well, interestingly enough, I'm told it's because the feds told them that if they spoke out, their lives could be at risk. Like they needed to keep things private, and they convinced the family to go into witness protection. Like, your lives are in danger. You shouldn't say anything. Somebody could just come back and try to harm you guys because of what your son did. You should go into witness protection and don't speak to anybody. Trust us, we're the feds, bro. And they agreed, of course, in the fog of it all. Why wouldn't you agree? But then, like any good, maybe conservative family, you start going, I don't really trust these feds. Like, I'm a little suspicious about the feds. Here's another point of interest, okay? His father had no idea that Tyler was gay. That's what I'm told. They are learning this in and through the media. They thought that Lance was just his roommate, and they were especially shocked because apparently Tyler kept mentioning to them that he wanted them to meet some girl that he was seeing. Now, I would like to interject my own voice here and say that I think this girl was likely Lance, and Tyler was working up the courage to tell his family that he was gay. That is what is most likely, in my opinion, because we know for a fact that Tyler was in fact in a relationship with Lance, because we have exclusive photos, by the way, they're about to show you, that the two of them posted to their Instagrams. This is Lance posting Halloween era photos. I forgot to post. My boyfriend is the best. Love you. Don't worry, that handle has since been taken down of what Tyler's handle was, but he's got a handle that doesn't have his name in it. So he's maybe trying to hide this stuff. And then there's another photo of them. And this one's posted by Lance again, pics from when Tyler had a mustache. You can see that they were in a relationship. Just makes sense that he was working up the courage to maybe tell his family about that. Now, I was told also that Tyler is off the charts intelligent and always has been. We know this. He had a perfect GPA in high school. Now, that is precisely what made the idea of him being so stupid as to author a full confessional via text messages pointedly absurd. Like, any person with a modicum of intelligence is going to go, I'm not going to put this down in writing with every detail. And apparently whoever offered those messages, likely feds, didn't have a modicum of intelligence, or they would have maybe not included every single detail there. The family says that the photo of the young man that is coming up the stairs, which was shared, that blurry image, is definitively not Tyler Robinson. And let me just say, I never thought it looked like him. Neither did you. Okay. Face looks different. Face looks more narrow. Also, that person looks taller. Every time I see, I'm like, this person is taller than Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson also appears to have full lips, even though this image is blurry. We're not looking for someone that got fuller lips. And Tyler Robinson looks broader than that individual walking, right? So I'm on board with that person walking up the stairs is not Tyler Robinson, because I feel like it was intentionally blurred. They also never gave us the footage at all, because in order to blur it, they probably needed a static image. Also, the family believes that, and this is really interesting, Tyler Robinson's apartment was staged after his arrest. Now, you will recall that I spoke to Lance's family. And one of the things that Lance's family said was, hey, we own that apartment. They pay rent to us. We've never met Tyler Robinson, but I can tell you that it seems like they were trying to hide the fact that this apartment got raided. And it's very strange that they immediately cleared Lance as a suspect. And I was told by other people in the department that they wanted to keep that raid very hush-hush. They didn't want anybody to know about the raid. There was no mention of this raid, and Lance immediately gets cleared as a suspect. Why? Well, according to Tyler's family, they went to that apartment after his arrest, and they felt the apartment was staged, and that intentionally in Tyler's room, a furry bed was placed, almost sort of implying that they're trying to transfer the attributes of Lance onto Tyler. And that's shady. But again, when I put together what I'm being told by Lance's family and what I'm hearing from the Robinson family through a third party, I will say that it matches. It kind of seems like they're agreeing. One family's going, hey, Lance is kind of evil. Why is he getting cleared? And the other one's going, Tyler's not this guy. Tyler is not this guy. So what the hell is going on, guys? What is actually going on right now?
And shout out to the best live chat on the internet, because you all are picking up the exact same thing that I'm picking up. MT said right here, wait, he did say the vehicle in the video, didn't he? She's saying that he said the word car and he doesn't use the word vehicle because apparently he only speaks King's English or something like that. I have no idea. I have no idea why that's a sticking point. This is something else, though. Thank you so much, Martin Gingers, for the $2 super. Says this: it's quite possible in court they will have more. She's acting as if we have all information. And, kudos to her. She listed 2 other people besides her, but none of them are her sources that are willing to come on and say, this is what I saw, this is what I know. But besides that point, she seems convinced that she has enough information to make a determination, which to me is a fool's errand and is silly. But I think that's why we're here. Shout out to Martin. Thank you so much. And then MT also said this. So it's his gun, his face on the camera, his DNA on the roof, but he didn't do it. But his boyfriend is cooperating with the feds. MT, thank you so much for the $5 super. I have no idea why she's making such a clown of herself in this regard. But I do also know that Cindy is a new member. So we got to give her a big shout out. Shout out to Cindy for becoming a new member and thank you for joining the pod squad. Let's get back to this. Let's get at it.
There's also something else that's weird that I want to mention here. And that is the unusual lengths in which the media and the sheriff's department, they've gone through all of these lengths, I would say, to protect the identity of that former sheriff friend who was the one who convinced Tyler to turn himself in. Even in that press conference, by the way, Brooksby, I don't like the way he's moving. I don't like the way Nate Brooksby is breathing. I got to be honest with you. It's a vibe. For no reason at all, he feels like he has to explain how he got on the phone with this sheriff friend of his, like nobody asked you whether or not it was usual for him to call you. He's kind of over explaining here, in my opinion. Take a listen.
At exactly 8:02 on the 11th, I received a call from a friend of mine who happens to be a retired detective that worked for me for many years. I didn't put that out there initially. I wanted to protect that individual as much as possible. Unfortunately, in the court documents, which is standard, he was referenced as a retired Washington County deputy. So I didn't put that out there. It was in the court docs. I was trying to protect even that information and just saying retired law enforcement in general.
Why are you trying to protect him? Why did you feel the need to
Because
explain to
of
us earlier?
crazy people like you, Candace. Because of lunatics like yourself. He realizes that he said, hey, Detective Benson from the 184, you're going to be all over him. You're already You're harassing Tyler's parents, Lance's parents. You done probably got the doggone Dairy Queen fry maker on speed dial. Just stop it. Stop acting like you are not the problem. It's you, Candace. The reason that man over-explained it is because of you. That's it. There's no other way around it. Ma'am, you are the problem. You've looked into the abyss and you've seen the problem. And the problem is you.
It's not unusual for him to call me, this guy, but I'm unfortunate that information is in documents that he was, formally working for me and working with me. What do you mean? If he was formally working for you, that would mean he was a public figure, and this should be usual. Public figures, people that work for police departments, are always public, and their informations are something. Their name is someone we could easily research. It's nonsense. He's weird about this. She
wants to research it.
He retired. I think a journalist asks in the audience, that former friend detective, how long has he been off the force? And he says, I don't know if we have that clip. Or maybe we didn't cut that, Skylar, but he's like, 3 years. But actually, we were able to figure out who that individual was. And I feel, someone that we need to get in touch with. We've tried to get in touch with him.
See what I mean?
The name of that individual is former Deputy Mike Mitchell. Okay. Deputy Mike Mitchell. Now, oddly, despite a career of 25 years in the police force, I can't find a single trace of him in old newspapers. So I'm looking for more information on this guy. I understand that he knows Tyler through the Boy Scouts. He's involved in the LDS church. And I think Tyler was the Boy Scout leader. That's the connection there.
I rest my case. I rest my case, Your Honor. I rest my case. I don't know. No further witnesses needed. This woman did and dug through. I told y'all, and I didn't even know. We're watching this in real time. I knew she was going to dog that doggone detective. And lo and behold, I'm right. I'm right. I need to figure out what the lottery numbers are tonight. Maybe I can run the lottery. I knew it. I knew it.
It's confirmed that this Mike Mitchell lives on the block, lives nearby, as was told via other sources. And thus far, we have only been able to even see a picture of him. There's just one picture or a set of pictures that we were able to find. And that, again, which would mean Brooksby lied a little bit. I don't like a little bit of lies, because you usually have to lie a little bit when there's something bigger that you're afraid of.
Hold on. We got to do it. We got to do it, y'all. We got to do it. We got to do it. Oh, man. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for her to say it. So you know what it is, y'all.
But I don't like little lies. When there is one lie, there's 20.
All right, let's go.
Oast, he retired last January. Here it is. On the left, you have Brooksby. I don't trust that guy. Just don't trust him. And on the right-hand side, you have, today we celebrated the career of Detective Mike Mitchell.
Wow.
After over 24 years of serving, 24 years, Washington County, he is retiring, starting in the jail back in 1999. Sheriff Brooksby and Detective Mitchell both had some wonderful stories to share. We would like to give our heartfelt thanks to Detective Mitchell and all who came out to give him a warm send-off. Congratulations, Detective Mitchell. This is the only trace of this guy I could find. That's weird. That is very odd. That is unusual. That is an anomaly. When you serve that.
You know what else is odd? Is that she doesn't know emphatically that this is the man. I would love to know, how does she know that this is the actual detective that Brooksby was talking about? Is it possible? Does she make room for the fact that she could very well have just put out there somebody, the wrong person? Because there's no way to know based upon what he said. And if they wanted you to know, then they would have said it. Is it possible? I hope that, again, like, there's no way to know. This is a trust me, bro. And this is this is one of those candies. Or we're arguing whether or not it should be candies or Skittles. Y'all let me know. I'll put a poll up in a second. The reason why she gets away with this is people don't actually ask that question. Like, how do you know that that's the guy? You said we found him, but how do you know that's him? Did you call and talk to him and get a clarification before you just plaster his name all over here? I'm just wondering.
Along the police force, you inevitably make it into the news. So I'm asking, and we tried to reach out to this individual. We have had no luck. If you have any more information about this individual, if he is your Boy Scout leader or he works for your church, please send us tips at Candispiracy.com.
Wow.
Guys, I'm going to again say here, we appreciate all of the tips, but please don't send us the links to somebody else's video and their theories, because we're a very small team. There's literally 4 of us, and we want to get to actual tips pertaining to the questions that we're asking and that we're looking for about the individuals that we're mentioning, not other people's theories. If they have like a theory about what direction the bullet might have traveled, please reserve that to our social media handles. Tag us on Facebook, tag us on Instagram, and we'll get a look at those videos. But we really want to keep the tips lines for answers to the questions that we're coming across. And again, we appreciate you guys so much, because we wouldn't have gotten as far as we have if it wasn't for that tips box. I do also want to say, before we get into reading and telling you something even crazier that happened, I'm talking crazy. I do want to assert here that I'm uncomfortable with the fact that despite all the friends that Charlie Kirk made, all the schmoozing that he did, presidents, right, department heads, I am the only person that is publicly demanding further investigation into his assassination. Why? So it's totally rubbing me the wrong way. Something's not right here. Even Turning Point USA, they're just like, we've accepted. Obviously, there are holes in this narrative, and they're just like, we're gonna just keep up his shit. What is going on? Actually, I just want to say that and get that off of my chest. I don't like it.
Get off your chest. Get off your chest, can.
All right, guys. Throwing it to some of our sponsors. I tell you all the time about Preborn because I've watched way too many people that are close to me be vilified for standing up for truth. That's what I do here, just standing up for truth. And I have that sting of media pressure.
I do support and believe that. I'm glad that she has that ministry in place or organization that she supports. Hats off for them, for sure. Candace, you're doing the most. Oh my gosh. Let's go real quick, man. We got these wonderful supers in the building. Look at this. Thank you, West Virginia, with the $20 super. I'm still lost as to what Dairy Queen has to do with any of this. If she does circle back to Dairy Queen, I would like a chill cheeseburger with a side of chili fries and a double chocolate ice cream. Shout out to West Virginia. We got you when she doubles back around. I don't think she's going to, though, but I like your order. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Tracy has joined us as a new member of the Pod Squad as well. Thank you so very much. And of course, MC coming through here says this. Okay, so she's speaking to the families, interfering with the case. Bruh, and yeah, Lance is likely involved. He sung real quick and probably got a deal. I'm just trying to understand how it is that she's getting away with this interference in real time. How is she able to do this in 4K? Help me understand. I don't get it. Derek says this. Thank you for the $5 super as well. I just want to put out there, the feds are just a bunch of humans. They do not have omniscience, and government don't have omniscience. And I agree with you 100%. I do want to talk about why she's saying that she's the only one that's asking for who assassinated Charlie Kirk. MT again says, imagine being her husband, that poor closet gay man. This is likely another Ziz trans cult situation. Tyler did it. His trans gang knew. I'm right there with you, my friend. And MT, thank you again for the $2. It's because you're the bestest Fawn, Candace. I think it's amazing that she thinks that she is the leader of the pack, the one that is running the show, if you will. The only one that's asking the questions. Man, I caught her in a crazy look too, by the way. I got to screenshot that. The only one that's asking this, the only one that's asking the questions. How dare I'm the only one? Why is nobody else asking this? That's crazy work. All right, let's get back to it. Let's go. Thank y'all for tapping in.
I need to offload this and get your opinion. Now, first and foremost, I have to tell you about this student who I'm going to refer to as Nick. Nick is not his real name. I'm going to refer him as Nick to protect his identity, obviously. I came across Nick very early on in this investigation. In fact, you might recall when I shared a photo online of a person that looked suspicious. He was wearing like a black suit and black glasses, and he seemed to have a strap hanging out of his bag. Here he is right here, and he was in the food court. I shared that photo because Nick had sent it to me into our tips box and said, this person looks rather mysterious. He's running through the food court. And from there, he kind of became my boots on the ground. He's like, hey, I go to UVU. I'm a major Candace Owens fan. I want to help in any way that I can. Okay. So that's how that happened. That was really, and right away, he told me on like day 2 of the investigation, that he worked on Phil Lyman's gubernatorial campaign. Phil Lyman ran against the current governor Cox, and he lost. And one day, very early on, it's supposed to be like day 3, Nick cold calls me, and Phil Lyman's on the phone. Okay. Like I said, he ran for governor, and I was prepping for the show, and things were early on, and I was still in a very aggrieved phase, and I didn't really know I was on the phone with this guy, Phil Lyman. And I was like, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that you're offering help. And Nick insisted to me, he's a fantastic person. He has tons of resources. He knows the area. If you need any help, he can help you. Okay, great. Fast forward to me looking into the witness list. And obviously we spoke about this Tiffany Peterson Barker, that very weird clip of her with her nieces at like 4 a.m. in the morning, just speaking on Good Morning America. And her energy was just weird to me. I thought her being there was weird. Obviously, this is my podcast. I can say whatever I want. We reached out to her, and then she gave us a ton of information, but never actually presented to us. She never sent me directly any footage that could verify that she was there when Charlie Kirk got shot. Okay. And she was a bit upset that I didn't clarify that. I thought it was weird that she wouldn't just text me the footage, because it didn't allow me to confirm that she was where she said she was. That's what metadata is for. Metadata instantly will say, here's where you were at what time, and this is this person's iPhone. So I wasn't going to lie to my audience. I just told you guys, hey, you can check her out on Instagram. Here's her excuse.
That won't be your
She
first
says
time.
that this is why her nieces said that. And we sort of moved on, right? But then I learned from Nick that the photo of the person who was wearing that black suit and dark sunglasses had come from Tiffany Barker's mother. I was like, well, that's weird, whatever. And then you'll recall we learned from Tiffany when I was trying to figure out, how did you get this hit on Good Morning America? Like, did you share something that would have had them reach out? Well, then I told you, she told us, actually, Phil Lyman is the person that put me on Good Morning America. My sister ran with him as lieutenant governor. And I was like, oh, okay. So Phil Lyman got you that position on Good Morning America. You had essentially a connection there that made that happen. Don't know how I missed this, but then I learned that Phil Lyman himself was very involved in all the communications that immediately went out about the shooting, and that his car was in the driveway of the now infamous TMZ footage, which showed the shooter walking twice that day by this house. In fact, Phil Lyman says that he had just pulled into that driveway minutes earlier and had just missed the shooter. Here he is in his own words, speaking to Kaylee McEnany. Take a listen.
I do want to linger on a moment for what you just told us, and I'm going to ask the team to pull back up that surveillance footage that we've gotten from TMZ, from those neighborhood cameras. You said that in that footage is your driveway, and you parked there at 11:30 a.m. We know this footage that you're looking at was taken at 11:49 a.m. So you would have been on that street, that driveway, 19 minutes.
Right across. Yeah, it's not my driveway; it's my aunt's driveway. Parking lot was very full. He's walking in front of my aunt's house there right now, and my cousin's house is the driveway that is taking that photo. And my CRV, the gray CRV in the distance there, is my car. I parked there probably 10 minutes before he walked by, and I had not seen this footage till just now. And it just keeps so many things that keep linking up. It's really astonishing to me. And then we went back to this house afterward. They thought they had the shooter. So I took a friend of mine. We went back to my aunt's house and said, well, we'll just hang out here for a while. And before long, the people were combing the backyard, as you saw. She had the footage of that, and pretty soon helicopters are overhead. And so this is very, very local to me. Not only is it Utah, but it's kind of my neighborhood where I spent so much of my childhood and all of my relatives. Yeah. This is really astonishing. I got up yesterday morning at 6 o'clock to drive up and meet Charlie, and I haven't been to bed since then, because it's just one thing after another, and so astonishing that this could happen in Utah.
Now, just to be clear and to reiterate, 19 minutes before the shooter walks across, he had just pulled into the driveway. Phil Lyman pulled into the driveway. He says that he saw Charlie Kirk that day. We're going to get to that. Also, when he says like he grew up there and his family owns, we were able to determine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 homes right there. Incredible. Okay. Absolutely incredible. And that his little press tour, obviously now you're like, explaining your car was in the driveway. So the issue's close to him. That kind of makes sense. Then
what? But why? I'm sorry. I'm totally lost. Somebody said that their brain is melting. I'm right there with you. I have no idea where we are. So they own a lot of houses in Utah, in that community. It's a stone's throw distance from a college campus. Why would you not want to own? I bet you they're all rentals too, right? It's pretty easy to ascertain why they might own a lot of houses around a school, because it's profitable. You can have rentals there, and they probably rented them all out to college students. And just because you can see his car there, and he's already told you why, his aunt lives there. It's his aunt's house. If you had gotten a shot from another angle, you would never have seen that. Why is that speculative? I don't understand why this is like dun dun dun. Like, why? This woman has got to be exhausted. I can only imagine what she's like at Thanksgiving dinner.
He went on to Alex Jones and spoke about where he was when the shot rang out. And what's kind of, and I'm laughing because it's kind of absurd, he kind of sort of blames it on these two random goth girls, maybe. Like he's kind of implying like there were these girls that were wearing black and maybe they should be taken a look at further. Take a listen.
Just yesterday, someone comes in and says, yeah, we've got video. He came off the roof. He came up here to the parking lot, got in the car with an individual and they drove away. Well, that's not the story that came, so that he escaped another route. And there are people who are coordinating this thing. I do not believe that 30-06 that they showed recovered in the bushes was ever on the roof. I think it was in the bushes to start with. And now I'm not saying that Tyler Robinson wasn't on the roof. I'm not saying he didn't pull a trigger. I know I was in very, very close proximity. So another interesting thing, like I say, I left the front of the stage. I wanted to meet some of my friends and bring them down front. So I was clear at the east end and I heard this loud boom. I heard this loud bang. And I turned around and I'm looking like, what was that? What was that? And pretty soon some people started, running. Everyone was trying to process. And I thought, this is a gunshot and there's going to be more of them. I thought it could turn into a mass shooting. So I go to the people closest to me. Everyone's ducking down behind the concrete retaining walls. And some of them were still kind of oblivious, but there were two people that were standing there. Two girls, very goth, very black, and I just walked, and I stepped up to the side of them and I said, did that not happen right here? Did you hear that? Was that right here? They said, yeah, it was just right over there. So they're confirming, yeah, the shooter or wherever that sound came from is right here. The thing that didn't really dawn on me is that they were not running. They were not frightened. In fact, as I stepped up, I heard one of the girls, and they were talking to each other, and they're looking at these kids, looking at the scene down below them of all these people fleeing for their lives. And she says, "Go F yourselves." And like I say, I was not processing that. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I thought this is a separate conversation. I don't know what it is. In hindsight, as I've watched that over and over, it's like these people were not afraid.
Okay, so what I get from that is he was up high because he says they're looking down below, and that maybe people that are wearing black are immediately suspects. I don't know because they were not afraid.
Well, you said the Ninja Turtles were immediately. You saying, Candace, you cannot be so highbrow and so highfalutin, ma'am. Ma'am, you cannot. No, ma'am. No, you cannot. Just because he said he speculated because his chicks were wearing black, ma'am, you speculate these people because the air is free. Okay, just calm your britches, ma'am. You do not have the ability to say anything about that man. But last thing, what about being in shock? What about if somebody's in shock? I'm sure you all have seen it. If you watch body cam footage, if you watch anything like that, when there's tragedies, you have a whole slew of different reactions, whole slew of them. People responding and acting differently than way you would think they should. So just because these people weren't running, I hate to say it, that's not terribly surprising to me. If everybody wasn't, then I would think there was something. But there's 2 or 3 people. Y'all saw that video, that guy that was like celebrating and pumping his fists in the air, and he was only like a few feet away from the main stage, and everybody else is ducking down, and this guy is acting ridiculous. I think people respond in shock totally differently, and I don't think she has any room to throw any shade. Okay.
Anyways, he also went on to a local Utah news station and spoke about how he was with Charlie just before Charlie went onto stage. Take a listen.
Phil, thanks for joining us, first of all. But I saw a picture. I saw a picture of you with Charlie Kirk, and it looks like you were like maybe right before he went on stage. Is this just like minutes before this happened?
Yeah, no, I was basically backstage, and when he came out and was throwing the hats, I was there. I was standing next to the stage, and I would have been there when the shooting took place, but I needed to go meet some of my friends. I didn't want to just hang around. So there's a part of me that's glad that I wasn't in close proximity, and part of me that feels bad that I wasn't there, just in some form of moral, presence and support. It's such a tragic thing.
When I combine those clips, I'm kind of unclear as to where he was exactly when the shots rang out, if he was close or if he felt bad that he wasn't close. Anyways, he went onto Instagram that night as Tiffany was prepping her Good Morning America hit, I suppose. And he speaks further about what he was doing back onto campus and what exactly he remembers. Take a listen. Again, this is on September 10th, and it's around 11:30 p.m. at night.
Hey, it's September 10th, 2025, and I was just heading back from Salt Lake to Blanding. I'm getting a very late start. It's about 11:30 at night, and I wanted to swing back by UVU campus where Charlie Kirk was killed today and see if I could let a few of the police officers know how much I appreciate the work they're doing, see if there's some college students here that I could rub shoulders with, more for my benefit than for theirs. But what I really wanted to share was I was very close this morning where Charlie Kirk was at. I met him backstage and we talked for a moment before he went on stage, and I was backstage as he started speaking, and then decided to go up top, and I went up to the top, and ironically was very close to where the shooter was. Apparently, the shot was very loud, and I determined pretty quickly that whoever it was on the roof, and it was a 200-yard kill shot.
Where was he? I don't know. I find this to be a little weird, but look, let's be clear.
His story is not inconsistent. I'm sorry. His story is not inconsistent. He said he was there with Charlie. He went to go meet his friends. He said that in the beginning, the opening, he said they were standing by the concrete barrier, and he ducked down by the concrete barrier when he saw the goth girls. That's not necessarily an inconsistent story. But let me also say this. Police officers would be very concerned if the story never had any variation to it. If it was always the exact same, that would be more problematic than him saying, you know what, 10 minutes after I saw this, an hour later, I saw this. 13 hours later, I saw this. Like, the story couldn't change a little bit. But if he says, like, he swooped in, or he was sitting right by Charlie, he got blood splattered on him, well, then that story would be crazy. But his story is not inconsistent. That's just my observation. But of course, any detective that, Candace taps, they're gonna give their side of the story. She's never gonna give their name, of course, to protect the innocent. Okay, let's go. Trust me, bro.
By no means conclusive of anything other than perhaps a strange coincidence. And maybe this is why he feels so impassioned and wants to keep speaking about it. Also, he's a gubernatorial candidate. Makes sense. This would be a political moment to show that you're a leader. And look, life is not exactly an Agatha Christie novel, right? Where the guilty party somehow inserts himself into the investigation. So I park that aside. I keep pushing, and I'm following more public leads. But also, I do recall in the back of my mind that both Phil and Tiffany Barker, and as it would turn out, another person that lives on that street with the last name Shumway, kept trying to get me to look into Governor Cox, because he's, according to Tiffany, very supportive of the trans stuff. You should look into Tiffany said into Governor Cox. And similarly, the Shumway emails were like, you should look into this Governor Cox because he likes trans. So they're open and close. That feels to me always just like Fed bait, left versus right, right? He likes trans people, so it has to be him. Okay. Oddly, look, I'm just following the facts here. Nothing in my investigation has made me ask a question further about Governor Cox on that day. Nothing came up organically, so I'm not going to push it just because he's a Democrat.
Okay, I got to stop real quick. Shout out right here, Irene Britt USA with the $5 super. And I just want to stop right here because this is going to be, y'all put Britt in the chat. This right here is exactly the problem that every comment I've read since we've been talking about Candispiracy has some flavor of this. What am I actually learning? There's just a lot of information. It's like a Pulp Fiction movie. Just a lot of clips just thrown at you. And there's some action, there's some chase scene, there's romance, there's intrigue, there's spot, but you don't know what the movie's about. Like, what am I watching? And this is exactly it. Shout out. Thank you so much for the $5 super. This is exactly what I'm talking about. What are they learning? There's all this kind of stuff. Like, what was the whole point of just besmirching the gubernatorial candidate? What was the purpose of that? Not a thing. Not a thing. Derek, thank you so much for the $5 super. She has not learned that. Actually, you cannot say anything you want. I guess Ms. Macron is going to make you learn that lying is wrong. Shout out for sure. And I can't wait to see how it shakes out. I also want to say thank you so much to Cindy for the other $5 super. Candace needs to realize that she is interfering in the case against the defendant and helping the defense build their case, disrupt jury pool. I don't understand how this is not jury nullification, but interrupting or interfering with the witness. I don't understand how this is not it. She's literally throwing out all of this shenanigans, and then the defense is just going to continue with it. All they got to do is figure out which one is the vast majority of people following after. Okay, let's run with that one as a defense mechanism. This is crazy. Candy about to interview, who is that? Araposti? The beekeepers. Who's that? Is that the name of a beekeeper? Zigga, thank you so much for the $2 super. MC coming back again. Reminder, she started out as a leftist who made a website to dox people who were mean to her online, including kids. George better have a good prenup. I would love to know what that prenup looks like. I would love to know that. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's go.
And actually, where I was at this process, what's that? pushing that because Governor Cox is his, sorry, I said Democrat because he's his, he's warring with him. And that's the candidate that he wants to go after. And I actually start noticing as I'm looking into this investigation that everyone who was involved on that day, I mean, literally the person who spots the shooter on the roof, military, the person who says, oh, I just happened to be in the right place in the Flag of Halls where I saw him running, also in the military. And I'm starting to think, is it possible that this is like a military hit? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Next came a tip that you guys saw me receive live on the show. Someone paid, a woman paid to say, Candace, there's more footage of the shooter on that day. And you should know that that shooter was with a woman, right? That's a tip that I received, that woman, the shooter was with a woman and he was seen changing clothes and that they've cut out that footage. So I reach out to that individual and the name that they give me for the house that this took place in, and I'm able to confirm that this property is nearby, is owned by Lyman branch. So now I want to be clear, I could not attach whether or not yet this individual is related to Phil Lyman, but he's been honest about the fact that his family lives around there a lot. Like, the Steele Lyman clan is here. So I was a little bit on alert, maybe like a lot of bit on alert. And I decided to just do a basic search into Phil Lyman. Like, is his family in the military? I don't know. I'm asking the question to myself. And I'm quite surprised that it's impossible for me to find out who his mother and father are. Like, I literally...
Maybe they don't want you to know. Maybe it's just not appropriate. It's funny that this woman positions herself like it is an affront. Hold on, I got something for her. How dare you not allow me to know your personal ins and outs? How dare you? How dare I not be able to just go online, pull all my resources and find out who Betsy Beesby mama is? I need to know what your dad's favorite car brand. If I don't know your uncle's Starbucks order, then I am calling the cops. I mean, why is this woman? She is a piece of work, y'all. Like, why do you want to know this dude's mom? She been going down some rabbit trails, man. I mean, they're going to be a big bad wolf at the end of one of these rabbit trails. Let's go.
Seems like a very weird thing to me that you would be able to keep information about who your mom and dad are private if you're running for governor.
No.
Right? So I just...
No. Why is that odd? Why do you want to be in their mom and dad's business? You're trying to find out who deleted Charlie Kirk. Now we're over here chasing down a soon-to-be governor, a gubernatorial candidate's mom and dad. Make that. How did we get here? This is the most Rube Goldberg type of investigations on the planet. And I'm going to say this again. My name is Jason. Show me an investigation that Candace Owens has done that's actually resulted in somebody going to jail or something, a policy being changed. I will wait. Let me know. DearWokeC@gmail.com. Let's finish.
Ask Nick. I haven't shared any of this with Nick because I know that he worked for Phil Lyman, and I'm not accusing Phil Lyman of anything. I'm just like trying to actually shut that down. And
nobody's there but you.
I don't know who his mom and dad are. I'm like, what do you mean? Okay, weird, whatever. I then decide to keep pushing on military leads that I have, people that were on the ground that day who I've confirmed were in the military. Anyways, then something insane happens. Nick calls me and he's a little bit undone. He tells me that Phil Lyman has just showed up at his house. Now, I want to be very clear. Nick is 20 years old. He's a 20-year-old UVU student and a major super fan of Phil as of 48 hours ago. And he's very uncomfortable. And he tells me that Phil randomly messaged him saying that he was nearby in town rather, and asked Nick for his address, something that he never had. And Nick, quite naively, being this Phil super fan, thinks that Phil's going to come and offer him a job because he's been so on it investigating this Charlie Kirk assassination. And that's not what happens at all. Instead, he says that he shows up, he opens the door for him, and his energy is very weird. And he's asking him weird questions. He's looking out of the window nervously. He sits down at the table. He's asking him questions about my investigation. I'm like, I shared nothing with Nick. I literally was asking him, can you go here, pick up this, whatever it is? And he is thinking this is getting weird. I said, what specifically did he...
Okay, I'm going to stop for a second. We have no way of knowing that any of this is true. Am I saying that Candace is lying? I'm not saying she's not. Let's just say it like that. We have no idea that this story is at all true. We have no idea. Why not? If you're already saying the boy's name, so you're not trying to protect the innocent, your name's not changed to protect it, or maybe she changed his name, but you could bring him on the show to confirm this. Why not? Because at this point in the game, the only source of information that we have is Candace. And that's a problem. There's no way I believe this. I'm sorry. I don't know if Nickelodeon, Nick at Night, they do, I don't know. I used to like the this is craziness. I'm sorry.
Did he say to you? Well, he tells me that Phil has also set up a time to meet with Ian Carroll. Okay, so Ian Carroll is conducting his own separate investigation. We are not collaborating at all, but Ian Carroll publicized that he was going up to Utah because he wanted to be on the ground physically by himself, and he was reaching out to people who had been speaking about having been there. And Phil Lyman is so gracious that he offers to give him a tour. And Nick tells me, he's like, that's really weird now because we're like 2 weeks on from the shooting and Phil Lyman lives 4 hours away. So that's very, very gracious of him to do, but his energy isn't good. And then he mentions Governor Cox and he mentions Tyler Boyer of Turning Point USA and says that, again, this is according to Nick, that Tyler Boyer and the Lyman have been speaking and that they're, really going to make Governor Cox, and I'm paraphrasing here, but apparently there's another Utah event, USU event coming up, and Governor Cox is supposed to speak, and Phil Lyman intimates that, this TPUS event, Governor Cox isn't going to look great. I'm like, what? He then tells him, I'm going to go, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a phone call in my car. So he's just idling in a 20-year-old's driveway who just happened to work on his campaign, and he's on the phone, and he's why he's calling me panicking. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why he's being so weird. I don't know why he's asking me questions about this investigation. And I'm like, yeah, this is weird. This is very weird. So then I'm like, I'm honing in here. I'm like, what's going on? I feel like he knows something at the very least. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. And I begin actually searching through our tips box for anything related to Phil Lyman. Maybe somebody else noticed something or knew something or he said something. And
what in the world is this story about? Yo, if you are a Candy, y'all got to look at this woman and say, what in the world have I hooked my horse up to? I done hooked my wagon up to what kind of crazy shenanigans? This woman is out here. She is out here giving business to the doggone future governor, mayoral governor race, gubernatorial candidate. Yo, this is not normal behavior, y'all. I'm sorry. And I'll say this again. When you focus so much on conspiracies, when you focus so much on, I got to find the next angle and so on and so forth, you're going to go down a rabbit hole like this. And Candace has done this. I'm sorry. She's lost. She is lost like a ball in tall weeds. You'll find her in the winter. It's over. Because, she just believes anything. She's going to chase after anything. There's nothing that will stop her. Craziness. Okay, I gotta go.
Lo and behold, very early on, someone just messaged us and said, hey, you should probably ask more questions about Phil Lyman because every time I look into this investigation locally, him and his family members are popping up. And then that person tells me that his nephew had sort of done this public tour, Phil Lyman's nephew did this public tour saying that he was going to walk the same route that the shooter walked near his grandmother's house and that they found, you guys remember this, they found the Converse footprint nearby his grandma's house. And he presented a map. This is it. This is actually from his Instagram. He presents this map, and his nephew's name is Shane. And this was all public. I'm only looking at things publicly. And let's just look at some of these posts from nephew Shane. First and foremost, he's with his friends. Said, I took my friends to my grandma's house tonight, and we retraced his steps, and we took pictures in the exact place that the security cameras caught him. I've been through this new experience for the last few days. I'm still very glad to have attended and to support Charlie Kirk and to see him. The last pic shows Converse brand footprints. And then he does hashtags, and here are him and the three friends. And by the way, I'm looking at the friend on the right, and I'm like, I don't know. I'd like to know who that is at the very least. And I'd like to know who everybody in this photo is. This is just interesting. You guys are in the staircase and posting side-by-sides. They put these side-by-side photos of them in the staircase. And I just was like, I need to just know more about you, and I need to know more about these two individuals who I couldn't find on his friends list. And they certainly hadn't liked the photo, or else I would have messaged them directly to figure out who they are. And yeah, I found that very strange. And so I messaged Nick and I asked him whether or not he had ever received any images or videos from Phil directly. At the very least, we can see his line of vision so I can figure out where exactly he was when the shots ran out. And I'm wondering if we can maybe get some footage that we didn't have before when the shots ran out. And also, by the way, metadata is king. That's kind of been it's good to see because then I can put it in my timeline. That's why I love metadata. I can say this exactly happened at this time. Strangely, Phil kind of freaks out. He doesn't want to share those photos with Nick. And he asks him explicitly, whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? I thought we were all on the same side. We're all trying to catch Charlie Kirk's killer one way or the other. You inserted yourself into this, got on the phone with me. I was not even trying to make any communication with you. I literally am just asking questions. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you don't want to answer any questions. You don't want to share anything. And he tells me that yesterday, Phil Lyman just calls him and he shouts at him. Like, who the F do you think you are, kind of a deal? You know what I mean? Like, who are you to ask me for anything? I already gave my photos to Taylor Hansen. And so at that point, I was like, look, you've been great, Nick, but I don't want you being shouted at. I don't want you feeling comfortable in your own home. I would like you to just remove yourself entirely from the boots on the ground elements of this investigation. I don't think Phil is acting in a way that I perceive to be stable, given the fact that, again, he inserted himself in this investigation and we're asking, this is my car on the street. Okay, you want to be helpful. We're asking you to be helpful. And
you inserted yourself into the investigation, Candace. The irony and lack of self-awareness is going to be studied by science. It's going to be studied by science. She is giving some major stalker vibes. I'm sorry. This is such a crazy story. But I said this before. I said this last week. One of the things that Candace holds a superpower that Candace has is she says things very, very confident. It could be the wackadoodlest thing on the planet. It could be the most insanest thing possible. But she will say with such a level of confidence, you might even pause for a split nanosecond. For a second, but wait, hold on. Because she says it with such confidence. And I don't know if she's convinced herself or she's just an outright pathological. I don't know. But I think this is comedy gold. Let's finish.
You're showing up at 20-year-old's house and you're being weird. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I said I could reach out to Phil directly by myself. And I did. I reached out to both Phil and I reached out to his nephew, Shane. And I asked for them to identify the guys in that photo. Like I said, I was interested in who those individuals were because I couldn't find it on his friend list. And in response, Shane immediately takes his profile private. And Phil Lyman, leaves me on red. So I am now left in the predicament where I need to just ask the public, if you are one of those two kids that are in the photos there, I would love to ask you some questions since you publicized this tour. I mean, they even did the full video walking through where he walked. And, you know, he said, my uncle, he posted Phil Lyman. So my uncle was with Charlie. This is the video that they posted. Everything was done publicly. And now I'm like, okay, you could maybe you have something that's helpful. I want to ask you about, could you send me that photo? Could you send me that video? Could you send me all of this stuff? And now I'm getting radio silence. So unfortunately, because I need to figure out what happened on that day, I'm turning to the public to try to identify those people.
Because I have to know, because the questions I have cannot be perceived in my own mind as maybe I don't need to be bothering these people. No, I must know. So now I'm going to unleash the candies, the dum-dums, the lollipops, whatever y'all decide to call them. I'm going to unleash them on them to harass them, is what she's saying. I'm going to unleash them out there to harass these students, these young men, young women. I'm going to put them out there and just let y'all harass them until they call it in, until they just say, we've had enough. That's what she means.
Anything else that you may know that may help put things together for us. Again, please reserve the tips at CandaceOwens.com for actual tips related to the questions that we are asking, not for just comments, those sorts of things, videos that you'd like me to watch or things that you'd like to do to point me into a different direction. Please just tag us on social media so that we can try to manage this process better. Anyways, you guys, giving you a lot of weird stuff going on. Just need to know what on earth happened on that day.
And mind you, nothing here is earth shattering. Now, she posted on the social, on the Instagram, that this is going to be earth shattering, that they're going to be looking for me. They're going to put me in the ground, blah, blah, blah. Man, what you're saying is completely wasted time. It's a nothing burger.
Comments here. First, want to tell you about American financing because the Fed has finally dropped interest rates, and that's great news for American homeowners. Expenses have been a major.
All right, so Candace is just talking foolishness, y'all. I'm sorry. This is an embarrassment, and I don't know. Somebody said, like, is she interfering with the investigation? I don't know at this point. To me, literally, she's shown you for the last 2 weeks that she's fully engaged with harassing witnesses, bothering people, doxing folk, so on and so forth, fill in the blanks. So I wouldn't be surprised if she is, in fact, interfering with the investigation at this point. I think I personally believe she is, but y'all let me know what you think. I don't think she cared about Charlie. That's for sure. She's going to really be hard pressed to convince me that she actually cares about Charlie. Because I do think it's interesting how she's moved off of various conspiracies. Let's go.
A gubernatorial candidate to arrive at a 20-year-old's house. Yes, I can answer that for you. That is weird. That is very weird. That was weird. Okay, there's no way around that. And again, hopefully he will answer and he will just send me some videos and
yes.
that will be, that'll be case closed. And maybe he doesn't want to help anymore. That's fine. But you can't insert yourself and then pretend you're under attack when people then go, hey, can you answer some basic questions? Marzi is writing to us. She writes, looking into the bullet made me think of the poisoned bullet when hitmen intentionally use a bullet to cause a lot of damage from tumbling and fragmentation. This is done by keyholing the round to tumble or bounce into the body for internal damage, causing many wounds. I actually did not know that at all. I'm super ignorant on the topic of ballistics and things that are actually done. That is, I've never even heard about keyholing. So thank you for.
Okay, I'm not trying to say that it's true, but Candace needs to really be careful reading these comments because people will send her comments and she'll read them. Matter of fact, the infamous "the Protestant church is satanic" was one of these comments. And I have the video. Maybe I'll do that one tonight, or I was going to do it on Wednesday, but she's reading it and she doesn't know what the person is talking about, but she positions herself in some form of authoritative posture and starts speaking. And she says some completely crazy stuff about the Protestant church. Hold on one second. It's right here. Darn it. I might play it. Yeah, it's right here. All right. When we get done, I'm going to just play it just so y'all can see it. Because if you've never seen it, I want you to see. This is what I'm talking about. She does not at all know what she's talking about. And I'm not saying that keyholing a bullet is not real. I'm not saying that's not. But the fact that she even put it out there is very problematic. I'm looking it up now. And apparently it's a real thing, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to it. I don't know what all the ins and outs. I just pulled it up myself, but she didn't do any of that. She just literally spoke on it intelligently and put it out there as if it was a real thing. That's real. And you'll see in a minute when I pull up the other video. Let's go.
Sharing that. Caitlin Derrigan writes, Candace, as a journalism student with an insatiable thirst for the truth, you are a true model of real journalism. I hope to one day get the chance to work with you. Keep doing everything that you do. May God continue to protect you and your family. I love you, girl. Yeah, I mean, my insatiable thirst is to figure out what happened that day. My gut instinct is that this was a military operation. Based off everything that I've seen and the lingering questions that I have and some other leads that we are working on, that's how I feel. And even when I was trying to find Mike Mitchell,
I thought, hold on. I thought the Israelis did it. And then we thought the Ninja Turtles. Now the military then capped them. Y'all stop playing. Stop playing with me. Now as a military, and mind you, by the way, because a lot of people like to come in my comment section and be like, oh, Candace will admit when she's wrong, blah, blah, blah. No, she won't. She will not. She will not say, by the way, I was wrong for saying that it was Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, and Donatello, the Ninja Turtles, in the sewer. She's not going to say that. She's not going to say I was wrong for trying to implement or implicate Bibi Netanyahu. She's not going to say that. She's just going to move on. And the Candies are not going to hold her accountable. That's y'all fault, Candies. That's not us. Because we're over here saying that she's full of hot air. We're all having a fun time laughing at her. But y'all the ones that keep boasting her up. Let's keep this going. Let's get done.
Could find the Mitchell family. I don't know if it's his family, but the Mitchell name in that area was coming up for like Air Force. And so when I get into these places where I can't find any more information, I turn to you guys to help me out. But I find it very strange that you would protect somebody who's been on the force for 24 years. Like what? You've always been a public figure, essentially. And I think Brooksby has some nervous energy there when he's like, oh, he called me. That's just totally usual. It's not weird. It's like nobody said it was weird. So why are you answering for something that nobody said? Little things like that. It's the same thing like when I saw Tiffany's interview. I just found it, like most of you did, to be odd, given the fact that the hitman was still on the run, that you would bring your nieces there. And she gave her explanation. And like I said, you can go to her Instagram. She has asked us repeatedly to send you guys to her Instagram where she explains why they decided to go back that early in the morning. And like I said, Phil Lyman was the one who got her the hit, or Phil Lyman's office, her sister, got her the hit on Good Morning America. Kristen Thurette writes, Candace, I'm so sorry for the loss of your dear friend. I agree that it's weird that the people closest to him are just moving on. I feel this whole story is very twisted and you are the only one who's capable of unraveling the truth. Yeah, and sadly, the people that I am in partnership with on demanding more answers are not even people who were friends with Charlie Kirk. They're just like, obviously this is wrong and this is weird, and I'm on the left maybe. Max Blumenthal he dropped a bunch of articles last week, and I think he's got more coming out. Why is Max Blumenthal, who wasn't a friend of Charlie Kirk, more interested in what happened to Charlie Kirk than the people closest to him? That strikes me as very odd, just odd. I mean, no element. They could at the very least name the donors, get a little bit of revenge, name the donors who were pressuring him, tell the truth about what was happening there. They won't do anything. They're just like, oh, it's all good. It's all good. No, it's not all good, actually. It's not all good at all. Bitsy writes, the whole world is a
Sorry about that. Can you imagine if they just said, oh, fine, we'll put out all the donors. We think these are the donors that were strong arming Charlie. Can you imagine what this woman would be doing right now? Because they're not just protecting Charlie and his reputation, his legacy, but they're also protecting their donors from complete and utter nutcases. She is not demonstrating any kind of fidelity, any kind of journalistic integrity, because she doesn't even know the full story, and she's out here telling you what she's learning on the fly. I don't think that's journalistic integrity at all. My name is Jason, dearwokec@gmail.com. That's insane. Let's go. Let's finish.
Stage used to hurdle the cattle in the direction that they want to take us. It's all lies. I rejected all. Lord Jesus Christ is King indeed. Bitsy. Miranda Allen writes, I wish I could do more. My thoughts and prayers are with you as you find truth and also mourn a lost friend. God bless and keep you. Pray. It works. I really do believe praying protection over the people who are trying to discover what happened is significant. It is. I really do believe that everyone needs prayer and protection at this moment. Cassie writes, many people I follow on social media have lost credibility with me because they're not asking any questions at all. I can't imagine calling Charlie a friend and not questioning any of this. Yeah, that's what's great. It's like, at the very least, I would expect them to get up there and be like, what's up with these Fed messages? This is weird. No, they're all just like, let's move on. And his legacy is going to be, we're just going to continue the organization without him. I mean, like, I was thinking, if I'm Charlie and I'm looking down, I'm just like, what? Dang. I thought we were super close. Really? I feel like the vibes are not vibing there. I know Savannah would investigate. Savannah's crazy. Savannah, she would investigate. She'd be crazy. She'd be super crazy. She'd be wearing all pink, going down to Utah. That's what Savannah would do. Kaya writes, it's 1963 all over again. They don't like people asking questions. Furthermore, Ian being mentioned. Yeah, random. And I called Ian. I was like, hey, Ian, just letting you know, like, I don't know. I don't think he's going to necessarily put you on a tour to try to help you, because he's not being very kind right now to this poor guy, Nick, who was like a super Phil Lyman super fan. And I think that went sideways. Kaya continues, prayer for you and him. You're getting close to something. Keep going. Christ is King. And then my producer has a note that there are a lot of comments asking about the microphone theory. Here's what I will say about that. When I first saw the footage, thought as well that something came upward. But when I looked at image from the side, the microphone is still on him afterwards. So like when you see it from on, it looks like it kind of disappears, but then it kind of shifts. When you look at the perspective slightly to the left, you see that it actually stays on him and it's just in the fold. Again, I don't know enough about weaponry to say that that's possible or not possible, but I would imagine if anything did sling into him with that kind of a force, it would fall off. And I can tell you it doesn't fall off. There's another theory that I'm still looking into that has been presented that I think is definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. And I'm trying to play my cards close to my chest as I ask certain questions. Probably will have more on that maybe tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, I do think it's very weird that he was mic'd after he sat down. Tell you that. That's never happened to me at a Turning Point event. They mic you backstage always. So yeah, I thought that was strange. There's a lot of things that were being done for the first time that day. And I'm planning on revealing all of them, by the way. I'm just waiting for everybody to like join me. Where are Charlie's homies at? Why are you guys all silent? Something's not right. I know it's not right, okay? We don't know now, but we know.
Y'all, she keeps saying that. Does she realize how crazy that sounds? I can't. Hold on.
I don't know, but I know. You know? I don't know, but I know.
She keeps saying that as a real thing. Does she know how insane that sounds? Somebody, y'all tell Candace that sounds crazy. Now I'm going to have to clip that one.
You know? We don't know, but we know. And soon, we're going to know now. And that's all I'm going to say about that. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, I didn't know that was a real thing. She's doing that as a real thing. Okay, I want to show, look, I am not going to be long. I want to show y'all, first of all, I want to say thank you to the fantastic supers that have jumped into this chat. Derek says this, all self-defense rounds are made to tumble and split. They are called hollow tipped. The military do not have these rounds because they're against the Geneva Convention. Okay. So is that what the keyholing is then? Okay. To me, again, I would not have brought that into the zeitgeist because I don't know much about it. So I would have just, because she already knows what questions are going to pop up. Just save that one for another day until you did a little research. That's all. MT, again, Charlie's letter to BB was released. Both Candace and Tucker lied. Color me shocked. There we go. I might have to get a copy of that now. Now I gotta go look for that. Well, Zach says here with the $20 super. I've worked for political nonprofits for my entire adult life on the conservative side. The one thing that is the biggest rule is to protect our donors, because their donations are confidential, not like a PAC or candidate. Why does she not understand that? I think she knows that. She wants to. The goal, in my opinion, Zachary, thank you so much for the very kind super. The $20 super is to undercut and, dare I say, ruin TPUSA by shellacking all of their donors. That's what I think it is. To cause so much confusion, so much foolishness, so much doubt, so much side eye that people say, I don't want to give to that. I'm going to give to something else now. That's what I think she's trying to do. Thank you so much for the $2 super here, Lady Ray. Christmas gift idea for Candy, a straitjacket. Now that I can agree with. MT, bring this back up with a $5 says this. Max Blumenthal smeared Charlie as far right immediately in that article. Max only cares about his anti-Israel narrative. They're so evil. OMG. I agree with you 100%. Let me bring this video in. I'm going to show you what I mean by Candace talks about stuff, and I'm going to save my discussion for this topic till tomorrow, I think, because I want to do a full, because I want to look at her actual quote unquote testimony, if you will, of converting to Catholicism, as well as this right here. So I'm gonna bring this in. Just y'all check it out. Let's go.
Michael Jones, he said, Protestantism comes from Satanism. I attend a Protestant church. I don't fully align with either side. What's your view on gospel-believing Protestants? So obviously, you guys know Okay,
I'm going to stop right there, and I'll back it up again so you can hear the question that's being asked. So somebody sent her a direct message, an email, whatever, and she's commenting on that in real time. So again, if you don't know, don't send it to me. If I don't understand it, I'll just say, hey, I got some messages. I'm going to have to comment on those later. Okay, but watch this. Watch what she says.
Michael Jones, he said, Protestantism comes from Satanism. I attend a Protestant church. I don't fully align with either side. What's your view on gospel-believing Protestants? So obviously, you guys know I can't judge because I was a Protestant not too long ago. And what I would say is I very much accept now, on the other side of this thing, that the more that you study history, you move very quickly away from Protestantism because you start to notice that it has always been hijacked as a political movement. And I hope that in watching this podcast series, as we cover a lot of these topics, that you'll start to realize how exactly Protestantism was hijacked for political sake. As certainly while we are covering the topic of Israel and we are seeing all of these churches and these ministers get on stage and don't listen to Tucker Candace and Tucker and Cameron Owens, whatever I'm being called out there, you go, okay, what is that? That obviously what has gone on here. And then there's like some common sense questions that I think like came online for me where I was just like, okay, there's so many different Protestant divisions. Clearly they can't all be correct, right? They can't all be correct. And it just seems to be splitting further and further and further. And the more something becomes divided, I would say the more evil it becomes, right? We should be aspiring to holiness, holy, things that are whole. So there's a lot.
This is 90 seconds of probably the most ignorant commentary about anything. And again, first problem, study history, you'll go toward Catholic Church. What about study scripture? What about actually studying scripture? Well, see, Candace doesn't know anything about that. There's the first problem. Did you hear her say holy? Holy means whole, like HOLE. Like a whole, I ate the whole pizza. That's craziness. So she doesn't actually know what she doesn't actually know what she's talking about. And this is a great question. Isn't it the same Bible? That's a great question, Kay. She didn't say study the Bible. She said study history. I'll play it again. She doesn't say study the scriptures. She says study history. Because if you study the Bible, you'll wonder, where's there a pope? Where's venerating Mary? Where is this stuff coming from? Because it's not actually in the Bible. So that's why she says it. I'll play it again just in case you missed it. She's not saying grow in Christ likeness or understanding your theology. It's grow in traditions and history that'll lead you to, quote unquote, the church Catholic. That's what the problem is. But even in that, she said the more something gets fragmented, the more satanic it gets. Where did you get that from, Candace? You literally just made that up. And this is her thing all the time. And that's the only reason I wanted to bring this in. I probably am going to just go over the whole video. I'm sorry, probably could go over that and just do a separate video on it. Maybe I'll clip this out. I don't know. But one of the things she does is she doesn't know what she's talking about. She really doesn't. I'm not saying this just to be mean. I'm not saying this because I'm a mean person. I am a mean person, but I'm not saying it because I'm a mean person. I'm saying it because it's true. Candace doesn't know what the devil she's talking about. She just says stuff and her audience is not going to hold her accountable. The Candies are not going to hold her feet to the fire. They're going to let her just run around footloose and fancy free saying all kinds of dumb stuff like holy, H-O-L-Y, is the same as whole. W-H-O-L-E. That's just dumb. That's just absolute ignorance on a grand scale. And she shows it all the time. She does this all the time. And again, I'm not just being mean to her. And I know people want to jump in the chat and thunder thumb, but please make sure you hit that like button before you say anything mean to me. But they'll say something in defense of her. And I'm saying, hey, can you show me where any of her investigations have brought anybody's been put in jail? Any policy has been changed because of an investigation of Candace's? I'll wait. That's what I thought. There's not a one. And even investigations that she's done that people really liked, when you really press and ask questions, I'll use the BLM investigation that she did. When you really ask questions, she didn't share new information. Most people already knew that Black Lives Matters was a scam. Most people know that it's basically an anti-white organization. My name is Jason. Catch me outside. They already knew that. There wasn't new revelation. You already kind of knew that. You just maybe you didn't put it together. Maybe you didn't hear it said in that way. But at the end of the day, you kind of already knew that. You already knew that. She didn't give you anything new. She just put it together. Kamala Harris, same thing. Her investigations don't lead anywhere. The investigation against Macron is leading her to court, but it's not going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. This thing with Charlie Kirk, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. All she's doing is muddying the waters up. She's thrashing around, flailing around, harassing people, doxing folk, but nothing's going to change. Nobody's going to go to jail because of Candace Owens' investigation. Prove me wrong. That's what I thought. So she doesn't actually know what she's talking about. She just speaks very confidently and people subscribe to it. But I'm going to bring this video back in. I'm going to let you see it again. And the last thing I want you to notice about this one, it just seemed really weird to me. And maybe I'm just being petty, but I want to know, do you pick it up? Watch this.
With E. Michael Jones, he said Protestantism comes from Satanism. I attend a Protestant church. I don't fully align with either side. What's your view on gospel-believing Protestants? So obviously, you guys know I can't judge because I was a Protestant not too long ago. And what I would say is I very much accept now on the other side of this thing that the more that you study history, you move very quickly away from Protestantism because you start to notice that it has always been hijacked as a political movement. And I hope that in watching this podcast series, as we cover a lot of these topics, that you'll start to realize how exactly Protestantism was hijacked for political sake. certainly while we are covering the topic of Israel and we are seeing all of these churches and these ministers get on stage and don't listen to Tucker Candace and Tucker and Cameron Owens, whatever I'm being called out there, you go, okay, what is that? That obviously what has gone on here. And then there's like some common sense questions that I think like came online for me where I was just like, okay, there's so many different Protestant divisions. Clearly they can't all be correct, right? They can't all be correct. And it just seems to be splitting further and further and further. And the more something becomes divided, I would say the more evil it becomes, right? We should be aspiring to holiness, holy, things that are whole. So there's a lot.
I don't even know what that even meant. I have no idea. Do you notice that she doesn't look up when she reads those comments? It just seems odd to me. Like you read the comment and then you can just look up at the camera and talk and it's such like that. Why are you looking down? She looks down almost through that whole thing. She only starts looking up toward the end. And even then she says some crazy stuff like the holy thing and all the kind of stuff like that, which is kind of wild. Sage Hart, are you talking to me? Like, I know nothing about Christianity. I would love to. I would love to hear what you're saying. I would love to understand it a little bit more. Please enlighten me. I'm just looking real quick. And this is something right here. And by the way, shout out to K My Way. Please understand, let's not confuse preferences and doctrine. So for example, I'm a Presbyterian, okay? And we disagree with Baptists on some things, some key element, not even key elements. There's some things that Baptists and Presbyterians don't agree with, and both of us don't agree with Lutherans, okay? But you know what? The things that we don't agree on are all preferential and all things that we can argue about at the potluck or at the cornhole or pickleball game. But we don't have to, that's a preference. But we all agree on the essentials, who Christ is and who man is. We all agree hands down. But we might not agree on whether or not you should have an 8-piece praise band or just a piano. Those can be preferences that actually cause denominations. Presbyterians don't believe in having musical instruments besides like non-electrical musical instruments. That's really it. And there's a couple other nuances, of course, about baptism and such like that. And we can get into those Dukes of Hazzards about it. But really, we're not arguing about something different. So we're not divided. We just have a preference that's different. And that's really it. We're not talking about the essentials of the Christian faith. Those are not different. And that's where Candace seems to miss it. But am I surprised that Candace doesn't get it? Am I shocked at all? Not even a little bit. But I would love to hear what Sage Hart had to say if he has some more wisdom and insight for your boy. Am I missing something? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay. Whew. I'm always, before I go off the top rope, like old school Jimmy Superfly Snooker, I got to make sure. So I apologize if I came across wrong. Thank you, Sage Hart. Got to make sure I don't want to offend anybody. I want to make sure I understand what they're talking about. Thank you so much. But so, yeah, that video on Candace is 90 seconds. And I literally have counted 6 things that she says wrong about the Christian faith. And she alleges that she's a Christian. And therein is the problem. She has Dunning-Kruger effect, and she says it confidently because you can't lie. And if you didn't look at her and see her looking down, because that's the part that really set me off. I'm like, wait, why are you looking down? You should be able to look right at the camera and say this truth if you do, in fact, hold that truth. There shouldn't be a looking down and looking around and all that kind. No, you should be able to look right in the camera. So that does set me off. But if you didn't look at it and you just heard her, she kind of sounds confident. Like I said, her confidence level is always above. She's always over kicking her coverage when it comes to confidence. Always. But bless her heart. And like I said, I also have her quote unquote testimony of how she converted to Catholicism. And again, the exact same errors are present. She converted to conservatism. Let me just be honest with you. Spoiler alert. She converted to conservatism and then became a Catholic. Kind of skipped over that whole thing about dealing with who Christ is and her sinful state before a holy, just, and righteous God. Just kind of skip over that part. I was a conservative. I believe in some basics. I mean, conservatism is basically common sense in a lot of areas. So I believe in this common sense stuff. And then I'm going to jump over here to being a Catholic. She was never a Protestant at all, in my opinion. But yeah, I want to say thank you so much. And I appreciate y'all jumping in. I just said, hey, she's doing a live stream. We're going to watch it in real time and just hear about it. But do you remember? I see somebody commenting about no drinking. Yes, Baptists do not believe in drinking. And yes, Presbyterians do. And that is a very true point. That is a truism for sure. That is a truism for sure. Back to my point that I'm saying. Okay. I just wanted to point out that apparently this was supposed to be like some earth-shattering news. If you see her Instagram post that she did the other day, what's today? Today's Monday. I think she did on Saturday. You know, she's going to shake the world and blah, blah, blah. And all you did was just throw out a whole bunch of stuff about possible the governor, track down some college students. And you know that this man's family owns 12 properties that they're probably renting near the college. Like, what did you actually learn, Candace? And I shout out to whoever asked that question, because that is definitely the $1 million question. What are the Candys actually learning? All of that information she threw out there, all of that stuff is like, if your kids like Legos and you get the Lego Batman, right? When you open up that box, all of the pieces are in various bags. If you just open all the bags and just kind of threw them in a bag, threw them in a bucket and shook it up and then just laid them out there, it's going to be way harder to put together that Lego Batman, because you got the instructions, but all the pieces are just discombobulated and they put them in those bags for a reason. And that's how Candace presents this information. What was that whole thing about the military? What was that? What was the purpose of that? Not a bit. And I just think it's actually kind of funny to me at this point. I'm just laughing at it because I'm like, you do realize how crazy and wackadoodle this sounds now, right? This doesn't sound even remotely like you are trying to investigate a case, more like you're trying to put together a Nancy Drew mystery or something. Find your own adventure. Like, this doesn't sound at all like an investigation. But then again, you're not an investigator. You're not. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a journalist. Y'all know I'm not a law student, any of that stuff. I'm a former classroom teacher at best, and I do a pretty decent job of being a husband and a father. That's about all I got. I'm a pretty nice deacon too, by the way. And if we get my mom on the phone, she'll probably say I'm a pretty decent son. So I got a couple boxes I'm checking, but there's a lot of boxes that are left wide open, right? I'm not pretending like I'm some kind of investigator, Candace. Why are you pretending like you're an investigator? Stop it. Stop it. And I do think, hey, I wasn't going to say this, but somebody already pointed it out. You didn't actually finish college. I finished college twice. So I'm not over here over kicking my coverage and saying something about myself that's not true. I recognize my limits, I'm not a journalist at all. I just like talking about stuff and making fun of it and getting 400 of my nearest and dearest so we can all have a good old laugh about it. That's what I like to do. And I'm not pretending like I'm investigating something. I mean, dragging folk out here. we tracking down college students off their Facebook page and asking why they don't want to be, ma'am, you're harassing folk. Like, the nose blindness is going to be studied by science. What did Brian say here? Brian, I got to get out of here. What Brian said is one of those properties supposedly is a safe house. Right? Like, she disparaging the people. They out here trying to build generational wealth, owning the properties. I want to own some properties, so I can do that. She out here disparaging this generational wealth, dragging these people through the mud. Yo, Candace, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop it. Oh my gosh. But I know one thing. I'm looking at out as soon as I know for sure. When we get more information about the Macron, because somebody's postured this, and I do not mean to keep going long. Somebody postured this, that all of this that she's doing on Charlie Kirk is really to help her pay her legal fees for the Macron case. I'm not saying that that's crazy. I'm not saying that's crazy at all. I can't say that that's the worst thing I've heard either, because that does make sense. Now, somebody's going to immediately jump into the chat and say, well, her husband is worth $287.9 million. That's probably true. But she is the one who got on there and said, they don't have $5 million, buy a t-shirt. That's what she said. Not me, not Future, not Summer Dog, but her. She said that they didn't have $5 million. And then sadly, but what here, if we want to put some tinfoil hats on, all of a sudden, when she didn't have any money, Charlie Kirk gets deleted, and now she's making money hand over fist. I gotta add some scary music sound effect in there now. If we want to play the game of putting out crazy theories, what about that one? Yeah, we got them police coming after you now. Yeah, we're like, hey, maybe Candace did it so she could get some money to pay her legal fees. See how crazy that is? But that's exactly what she does. She just makes up theories out of whole cloth. She just makes it up. And it says, well, you got to prove me wrong. You got to prove me wrong. So if you don't prove me wrong, then maybe it was right. Nasty word. Totally crazy. Okay, what we got here? Okay. I don't know what happened to the bees. That's a fantastic question. Well, you know what? The bees are right here. We got the bees in the, hold on. I got to put some bee emojis in the chat. Now, the bees are earning emojis in the chat, but sadly, I don't know. Yo. Okay, so I say, which one do y'all like? Candies, Skittles, or Dum Dums? At the current moment, Candies has 46% and Dum Dums has 47%. All right, I'm going to close it out in a second, y'all. Y'all hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button. I'm going to get out of here messing with y'all. Even if she was right, what does this say right here? Even if she was right about Brigitte, what does it even have anything to do with us? I'm asking the same question, Miss English. That's the question I've been asking. Like, okay, fine. Dude looks like a lady. No problem. What's going to change? That's what I'm saying. Like, this investigation will net nothing. If they find out that Brigitte Macron has a Johnson and they expose it, she got a Johnson. Now, one thing is going to change. They still married to Emmanuel. Nothing's going to change. Not a thing. And y'all, I was looking up. Now, I did do some research now. I did look up and did research on, a lot of people were asking, well, what if Brigitte Macron was intersex? And I was like, what does that word mean? What does that word mean? Yo, if that's what Brigitte Macron is, man, Candace is low down. Because I watched a woman tell her story about finding out that she was intersex and all that goes on in that. I am not an OBGYN, and I do not want to drag somebody's story out there. But I was like, that is sad. That was really sad to hear for that woman. She seemed like a really nice lady, and like she can't have children. And I was like, man, and apparently they can have children, but it takes a lot of work to help them out. But my point is, if that's what's wrong with Brigitte, and Candace is just basically put her on Front Street for that, man, that's sad business, man. I feel bad for that woman. But again, guess what? None of that's going to change anything. Not a thing. Nothing's going to change. If Brigitte is a woman, I'm going to still have to pay my light bill. If Brigitte is a dude, I'm still going to have to pay my light bill. Nothing's going to change. And I still got these doggone summum cum laude gas prices that I got to pay. Like Trump, where are my low gas prices at, my guy? Help me out. That's what I voted for. For real, none of that's going to change anything about us. So why is it such a big issue? But I think, hey, my conspiracy, maybe Candace deleted Charlie Kirk so she can make money to pay off her legal fees. There, see, I make crazy conspiracies too. It's very possible. It's very possible. They're one of three options. Sorry, she might be. It's possible. And not one thing is going to change though. That's the only thing I'm saying. And we've talked about this, and we'll trust me when that case gets kicked off, wherever it goes. Matter of fact, I'm checking real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything about it. As soon as we can, I am looking forward to talk about it because I think it's going to be very interesting. And I think that personally, I think Candace is barking up in my opinion, a very bad tree. Okay, I'm going to drop this link in here. If you're interested at all in what does it mean to be to have that situation, it's a short video. Let me just drop the link. I'm not going to play it. The young lady is talking about it in her car, and it was very informative. I learned a lot, but it does help explain. And if that's what's going on with Brigitte Macron, Candace is low down. Low down. I mean, that's just low down. But you said, I bet they're sick of her. Look, I agree. This is a very interesting statement too. Thank you, Stacey Perez. She's helping the defense for Charlie's killer or killers, but she claims to care about Charlie so much. That's nasty work. This is Jason Winston. I'm right there with you. Candace needs to work on her own home and stop meddling with other people's marriages. Shout out for that. But remember, she's going to be homeschooling now. She's going to be homeschooling. So she got that she got to worry about. And she got all this investigation, reading the text messages, tracking down college students, and it's such of that nature. It's nasty work. Let me see what I'm missing. Am I missing anything? That's what yes, thank you. Shout out to Amethyst Angel. I wasn't clear and I didn't want to use that word. I wasn't 100% certain that's exact because it seemed like the new word is intersex. And it just seemed like they have an extra chromosome that causes uncertainty, if you will, in that area. So I just think, yeah, it's very interesting. But if that's what's Brigitte Macron's situation, to me, I think that's nasty work for Candace. That's just nasty that she would drag that woman. I've said that before. I don't think it's fair to, I think it's pretty nasty work to tell a woman, if you're so ugly, you look like a dude. That's crazy, man. That's inappropriate. That's inappropriate. Whether you like her or not, whether you find her attractive or not is beside the point. To say that your features are so unappealing that I think you're a dude that's pretending to be a woman, that's nasty work. And that's effectively what Candace is saying without saying it. But, you know, we'll see when they finally, and by the way, there's no new update. So we'll stay patient on that. All right, I got to get out of here, y'all. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I appreciate it. And I do say thank you so much to all the very kind and gracious supers. I appreciate y'all. It's a blessing. And then thank y'all again for 50,000 subscribers. We hit it. And just give you a little taste of it. I'm looking at possibly doing a little change up to the studio. So don't be surprised if you see this one day soon. But I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and all of that. It means a lot. Thank you very much. I'll see you all real soon. Grace and peace. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.